Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Settlers podcast. I just had my great friend Long, the founder of Anomura, an awesome pixel art game featuring hermit crabs and environmental conservation that's coming up over the next few weeks. We spoke about his background. He used to be a competitive StarCraft 2 player, what he's building now with Anomura, the Nintendo inspired emotional attachment playing games that he's trying to capture with his new title, and some of the titles that he's really excited about coming up into Web3 gaming. I really hope you enjoy the conversation that I had with Long. I'm always inspired when I speak to him because of his ambition for Web3 gaming to be more than just a play to earn platform, but hopefully a platform to play to contribute to social good. Today we spoke about a concept called play to donate, which I'm not sure is going to catch on, but nevertheless, I really hope you enjoy the conversation today. Thank you for supporting the Sellers podcast, and let's get into it. Long, I think many young people who grew up playing their favorite games growing up have always had the dream of building games that millions of people around the world would play. Tell us about your earliest memories of gaming and the impact that it had on you.
Sure. I grew up a lot with games. My family, my cousins, from an early age, I've been playing like Nintendo games. I think that's probably where I started from. You can see that with the games we're producing, very pixel art heavy. I have a huge craving to recreate those experiences that I grew up playing. Listing out some games like Donkey Kong, Street Fighter, even some of the earlier ones like Pac-Man and Asteroids. All those type of things would really resonate with me as a kid. Growing up, I also got into competitive gaming because like my cousins and I would always like play and try to beat each other in these video games. I kind of grew a really competitive spirit to playing video games, and I played professionally a bit with StarCraft. That game is really important to me because it was really the first time someone could actually make a living playing a video game, and I thought that was just so cool. Like I wanted to be like a kind of like someone that's playing a sports in the field like basketball, but to me like StarCraft was like the first time someone could take a game seriously and was able to join a team, and so that was like some of my fondest memories.
Yeah, tell us more about the competitive gaming scene. So when did you actually realize that you were actually good enough to play in tournaments and such?
Yeah, so back in the day, internet was still like kind of not
Was this
really
Brood War or
broadly
StarCraft
available.
2?
This was Brood War. So I started with
Oh,
Brood War. So that came out like I think 1999 or 2000 around there. So people didn't have really great internet yet. So the tournaments were held in like LAN cafes. When I first attended my first net cafe playing a tournament, I realized I got pretty far and I got really, I love talking to the people that are actually winning these tournaments. And then in Brood Wars, like I made a little bit of money, like maybe like $20 to $50 per tournament. And it wasn't like serious, but as a young adult, it was kind of really cool to me. And then what happened was that when StarCraft 2 came out, that's when I went pro. Like I played it religiously, got into the beta. I got really good in the beta. And then the same thing happened to tournaments, and I realized I was winning some of these. So I'm like, how do I take this to the next level? Where do I travel to? So I would like travel from. So I live in Toronto. I went to Montreal to play for the World Cyber Games, and then in Canada, like, I placed eighth at one point. I think that was probably my highest achievement in a large scale tournament. That was really big to me. Twitch started coming out. I love streaming, and what came out from Twitch was pretty amazing. All the esports culture they innovated. So I was a Twitch beta user. I played in like probably nearly like 300 tournaments plus online, and that required like so much dedication. Korea also was taking off. People were getting like $100,000 prizes, placing first. I was really inspired, and all the talent was in Korea. Um, and I joined a professional esports team that was trying to compete at that level. And what I took at that time was to travel to Korea to play against the best of the best. I wasn't able to do it, but that's okay. That's when I realized like maybe I could do something else in esports, and that's where I kind of really wanted to go into like game development.
Hmm. I think many people regard StarCraft as one of the poster childs of gaming, showing how you could really capture the imagination of a mass market. I mean, Korea was such a great example. I mean, Korea was really one of the leaders in professionalizing esports in the first place. And StarCraft 2 was, I mean, that was the start of the gaming sector really taking off in Korea. That's why League of Legends is so dominated by Korean teams, first person shooters as well. I think you can map it back to the culture impact of Brood War, to be fair. And so you started off as a game dreamer and then played a bit professionally. Were you still working at that time? Were you trying to make ends meet, or was a career secondary to you at that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I come from my family is actually like refugees from Vietnam. We came barely with like $100 to Canada. My parents really wanted me to become like a doctor, very stable profession. A lot of my cousins went into that. I I, I knew I wanted to be in computers. I got like my the first CD drive from my dad, who's really invested in computers, and the first thing we did was got like a demo CD of games, and that's where I knew like I wanted to build these games as well. Um, and so for me, like growing up, I had to convince my parents that like I can build games by doing a computer science degree. So that's what I studied, and it was a struggle to also play StarCraft at the same time as doing my degree in university. I even like told my parents, "Hey, what if I went to Korea to do this?" And they wanted none of it. So it was a huge struggle to convince my family that this is the right profession. It's also kind of the big reason why I'm so motivated, because I really wanted to convince them that like I can make it in this industry if I try my very best. And sometimes like in StarCraft, for example, I tried my very best. I knew I couldn't make it at some point because I felt like the skill gap was there. What it took was like a full time dedication. But I never stopped not giving up on my dream. I would repeatedly apply to game professions, like in like Riot Games and Blizzard and stuff. And I learned all the skills to build games. That's how I got to where I am.
And then fast forward to the first exposure to Web3 and crypto gaming. What was that journey like for you? When did you first get across the concept of blockchain?
Yeah, so I was since I'm very big into new video games, new technologies. I followed the scene very closely. I also had a very stable career path because of my family's influence, but to help me prepare to learn how to build teams and get into Web3 with all the skill sets I need. So I was a developer front end for some major banks in Canada. I worked as a project manager for some insurance companies. I was a director for a SaaS company that got acquired. And then I was a CTO for an augmented reality company. And I saw kind of like what it took to get a project funded, understand more about how to build a company. And that's about the same time I saw Web3 start taking off with video games like Axie Infinity. And I saw like, there's an opportunity. I can understand this tech. I know what it takes to build a game. I think I can make a better game. That's when I decided, I quit everything that I was doing. I took like lesser roles in blockchain development as a community manager for a blockchain game on Telegram. That's the stuff that I took to learn more. And eventually, I met Chris Laurent from Virtually Human. He's the founder of Zedrun, and we just connected so fast. Within a 5-minute conversation, we decided to let's build out Anomura. So that's kind of a crazy wild ride that I went on.
That's awesome. I also know that you spent a bit of time at Binance. What were you doing there? What type of problems were you working on? Because obviously they've had a massive impact on this industry. I'm wondering how that was for you.
Yeah, so Binance at the time was kind of like the big exchange everyone wanted to get listed on. I'm sure everyone knows that. So I saw them as a kind of like the leaders and like where all the blockchain projects wanted to get on. I also saw an opportunity with the Telegram groups I was part of. Uh, every There's just a whole about the whole time about the DeFi boom right now at that point, and so
Was that like
everyone
early
wanted to,
2020 or was
yeah, it was like
that like
2019, 2020. DeFi was booming. Every day there
uh,
was a new DeFi project that like went to the moon or something. So everyone's like super excited, chasing alpha. Uh,
yeah.
and Binance was like kind of like leading it. So that's why I decided like, oh, maybe like BSC, there's some opportunities there. I volunteered to mod like the BSC community. I looked for like any paid position I can. They needed a developer advocate, someone that understood technology, and I felt like even though this wasn't paying very much, I just decided like the exposure that I would get to connecting to new projects on DeFi space from Binance would be very beneficial for me creating a company of my own in the future.
Yeah, but I'm sure that would have been crazy. I remember back in the 2017, 2018 days when every alpha group was just constantly spammed. I remember being in one every 30 minutes, there'd be a new project out of some random country around the world, which would go to the moon the next day. And I'm sure that was, yeah, Binance would have been seeing a lot more of that. Tell us about Anomura. And so we mentioned Virtual Human Studios, but what was the catalyst for the game for you? Like, when did you think this is something that I wanted to build, or when did the actual concept even appear in your head?
Yeah, so honestly, like everything about Anomura really represents like me and what I like. I love nature. I love RPGs. I love exploring potentials of blockchain, and that's what Anomura is. It's my love for like nature. It's the word for Anomura is Latin for hermit crab. I just thought it was a really good symbol for wildlife. I also knew that being working with Binance and other crypto communities, there's a lot of hate, especially against crypto for stuff against wildlife, like stuff like the like it's not stuff like the carbon amount of carbon that's being produced by blockchain transactions and such. So that's why Anomura does everything to destroy that image. Where we're actually giving back to wildlife, we're helping the environment, we're actually creating a game that's more sustainable and fun compared to something that's just like this is just a way to get rich really fast, and then we do a lot of damage to the environment. We're taking advantage of artists and stuff. Like, we wanted to do everything the opposite of what was going wrong with the perception of crypto.
Mm, I love that. There's a big inspiration from you were mentioning playing your earlier years on your Nintendo, the pixel art that you're trying to um, almost recatalyze that type of love that those old games used to get. In your mind, what emotions are you trying to capture with Anomura, its art style, and the game?
Yeah, it's definitely trying to take you back to a simpler time when video games weren't meant to be like investment vehicles like all the crypto games. When games were just meant to like spend all your time and then lose track of it. Like, that's where I'm trying to take you back with Anomura. There's plenty of strategy and fun inside a pixel art game. We know that through all those games we played as a child, and we really want to really recapture that. At the same time, there's advantages for being pixel art. We can build out really meaningful strategic gameplay of pixel art really fast. We're not trying to produce something like a AAA, like a first-person shooter or anything like that. There's room for that within Virtually Human, and we're doing stuff like that with Human Park and really cool in-depth experiences with like Zedrun as well. Animera focuses more on like a strategic game, more stuff on like an auto battler genre, as well as like a TCG trading gate card game. All those elements are part of Animera. It's like a lot easier and a lot more interesting as a pixel art game as well.
Mm. Now, why are you actually? I know that you're part of the VHS Virtual Human Studio family. You most likely could have just built this yourself. What do you think? What drove you to say I want to build this with the Zedrun and Human Park founders?
Yeah. So when I first learned about how Zenrun was built, like it was from a time when NFTs weren't even really a thing yet. I mean, I think Zenrun was conceived early, like 2017, 2018. There was barely anyone that knew what an NFT was. There were barely any sales actually. It was done in the bear market, and so when someone bought a horse, like there'll be like one sale a day at some points. That was an exciting thing, and they came from nothing basically. And Animera really, like, I love those humble beginnings that people understood what it takes to build something really innovative. I mean, we're trying to do stuff like do on-chain donations to charity, which is completely different from anything else. So it'd be really, I thought Virtually Human was a really great partner to have in knowing what it's like to build something completely new and experimental.
Mm, These guys are really leading the frontier. I mean, yeah, Zedrun was born out of like deep bear market, and I know that it took a while for the initial Genesis collection to even complete, and so very different. Yeah, definitely OGs. I think in my mind, and it showcases kind of what sustainable game economies really look like because the game itself still has such a rabid fan base as well. What's the? I'd love to double click on wildlife conservation and what you're thinking about for the future because this is one of those things where um, we really like counter consensus narratives, and from your perspective, it sounds like leaning into wildlife conservation is has been a big inspiration for you. So why, and then also secondarily, what can players expect out of Anomura?
Yeah, so right from the bat, we're offsetting the cost of our mint. We are on mainnet Ethereum, so what that means is like a lot of we aren't on like a proof of stake network just yet, but we're using a partner called Ariel to offset our entire mint. We're doing more than just offsetting. We're buying more carbon offsets that go directly to things like planting trees in Indonesia, mangrove trees. We're also restoring kelp in Southern California. So we're using these offsets with our partners to make a difference right from the start because we want to prove that we're putting our money right where our mouth is and building out something right from the start and doing wildlife conservation. The really fun parts in Anomura would be playing the game and into the narrative. You're also putting donations in. So imagine like fighting the boss, and then you get like quest reward that you can decide to donate to a wildlife conservation. And all of a sudden, you're more powerful in the game. You get more loot drops. Those are the types of things we want to experiment with. We know that people are very incentivized to earn. It'd be really amazing if people were incentivized to donate as well.
Wow, play to donate. I actually didn't think about that. I love that. How do you view standing out in the ecosystem? Is a core narrative that you're trying to tell, obviously, the art, the social good that you're trying to achieve. I'm sure I'd love to talk about how you're thinking about how do you get your story out there and how do you stand out in a huge market with so many different games coming out now.
Yeah, so we are one thing that we're really proud of is our team comes from a lot of degens themselves. We understand who are these people that are investing into NFT projects. We understand the people that are playing these NFT games. So we know our audience very well, and we've mint so many NFTs. So we're collaborating with a lot. And I think this shows that we know who we're talking to, who we want to partner with. At the same time, we're being leaders in blockchain by creating different smart contracts. We created this challenger experience where people through the system were uploading pictures of them picking up trash. So that's something that we did, and we got people to do. So we already proved that there's 60,000 wallets attached to this system that no one's ever heard of, and there's potentially those amount of people like picking up trash already. So we want to keep continuing building out these new innovative mechanics that no other game has. At the same time, we also try to cater and talk to the market in our communities very much with our AMAs, our actual releases and product. We don't want to just say promise a billion things on roadmap and not deliver. We're more so like, here, you can see this before it's even before we're not doing any promises. Here's what we actually are doing.
Hmm. Hmm. I was going to ask you about esports actually. Obviously, coming from your background, do you think that do all games need to have a vibrant esports scene to really capture the imagination of players?
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, I'm a big competitive gamer. I'm not hiding it, and I think people who are creating these crypto games so far have not been appealing to the type of player that I am. Mostly, it's people who are trying to make a living off a game, which is I don't think is the right narrative. They're not sustainable with that methodology. I think esports is a great way to keep the economy sustained because people are competitive. They want to compete against each other. Also, they want to be on teams with one another. Right now, there's a big industry for gaming guilds. I think that gaming guilds, like, they're not very viewed very positively in the market right now, but growing up playing MMOs and serious games, the guilds meant something to you. You're like, oh, I'm part of this like top tier guild. All the members here are the elite. That felt really cool to be part of. We want to create those experiences again with Anomura, where team play is really rewarded, where it doesn't feel like you're just in our organization trying to make money. The focus is on building that community, keeping our core audience all engaged with one another, and wanting to play the game because it's fun and you're enjoying time with playing with other players.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, guilds were a thing long before player-owned gaming, especially in the days of World of Warcraft and clans on RuneScape. The gamer like players wanted to organize amongst themselves and coordinate and completely smash other players. That has long predated crypto gaming, and so looking at sorry tangent. Let's go back to Anomura. Uh, what are you most excited about personally? I think you are when I think about founders that they are so deep in launching the game. I want to get you out and just personally, what are you most excited about for what you're launching?
Yeah, so there's quite a few things. We're launching our NFT collections very soon. Our NFTs we're really proud of because they're very unique compared to any other NFTs on the market. These are composable NFTs that can combine with one another. So right now, most of the P2E space games, you earn tokens and you see a value for that token. You really care about that token value. Animero is not like that at all. In fact, like it's all about you play this game, you earn stuff like NFTs that you can combine with your NFT to create an identity for yourself. I think that's very unique in the market, and that's something that we're going to show right off the mint. Um, our NFTs are interactive on right from OpenSea. You can see what type of other NFTs can be combined with your Anomura. So you can have like these special claws that you got off on their drop, or you acquired from fighting a boss in the game. And all of a sudden your Anomura, like you want to pick out these specific gears because you want to flex how cool your Anomura can look like with a decked out set. That type of stuff I really love playing MMOs, playing stuff like Diablo. So that's something that we're really excited about because it feels more like a game right from the start with the NFT. And then obviously I didn't talk about it enough, but our game, like we've been building it for nearly a year now. I don't think any game in the Web3 space has spent that much time like building. Like everything's been a rush to the market. We're taking our time to make sure that this game is very enjoyable before anything. We're also creating the game without wallets at the start. So you can try out this game. We're trying to build a free-to-play model through our game, which means that people can try out this game without knowing what crypto is. We think that the market, the mainstream gaming market is really virtually untapped for Web3 gaming. So our narrative is to create this experience that Web3 and non-Web3 users can start emerging together. And over time, just build like a brand that really symbolizes a true mainstream game that's made in Web3.
Hmm, I love that. And as you look towards the market as a whole as well, I mean, what I love about your story is Anomura has that feeling of social good, and you're trying to not to align incentives for the player in that way as well. I'm just curious for you personally, which games, as you look around the Web3 market, are you most inspired by? Maybe not just for Anomura, but just as a game fan as well. I'm curious.
Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about some PFP projects I'm really excited about. I'm a big fan of on-chain NFTs, mainly because it's such a different concept to explore decentralization. Um, Typically, projects are on something called IPFS, which means that the images are stored on another blockchain. Ethereum purists love the idea of on-chain NFTs just using only Ethereum. So I love the idea of trying to build a complete game on Ethereum. I think there's a few games that have done that, like Wolf Game. So those are some ideas that I've been trying to draw inspiration. Like, how do I make a game really be decentralized? There's a term that I also heard from something fun called Variant that talked about if it's sufficiently decentralized. I think Anomura, I try to build something where you understand like all this type of stuff. You understand the ownership of these NFTs are yours. The stuff that you get from the game, it's done on chain enough that you feel like it's transparent, it's decentralized. So that's the type of experience that I'm trying to create by learning from some of these on chain projects. A couple of other ones I'm really excited about that aren't really games but are kind of building games soon is Forgotten Runes. What else is there? There's Ether Orcs. Those are really cool, like niche projects. Not a lot of people know about them, but they have a huge following, and also a lot of developers follow them because it's not easy to write everything completely decentralized.
Yeah, is do you think that am I hearing your philosophy right as a builder? It sounds like there's a lot of decentralization first. Is that why you're going ETH mainnet and not on a layer two or another chain? I know that Zedrun and Human Park are on Polygon, and so yeah,
I'm a big believer in stuff like the merge coming up. We'll see where the market takes us through there. We're not opposed to doing stuff on layer twos as well. The one thing I'm really looking forward to is stuff like zk rollups. We've been talking to a lot of other blockchains about how to use zk rollups to facilitate a lot more transactions. Right now, I think a lot of blockchain games are blocked basically, that they can't be completely decentralized. They can't be a full game experience because the transactions are too slow. Imagine, like, let's say killing a boss monster, and then 15 seconds later you get your loot drop because that's how fast Ethereum mainnet takes. So zk rollups is a way we can get by that and still be on chain. So that's the type of stuff that we're looking towards, and we're definitely going to move towards whatever it takes to be decentralized and make a meaningful game experience.
it's awesome. Thank you for all that. Long. What's the one final question for you that I love asking? Um, you know, game building's hard. I wanted to hear about, as you project yourself forward a few years, what are you going to be? What do you think is going to make you the most proud? The work that you're doing now. What do you hope you would have achieved in a few years' time?
I'm pretty proud of where our team got so far with Anomura. It wasn't easy to put together and piece together how it takes to launch a project right now. We've been really like learning so much. I think our team is very equipped in that sense that we've been experiencing firsthand what it's like to mint every single game. We do that together, and it's a really cool bonding experience. I'm pretty proud of my team for making that far already. You look at a lot of other brands and companies; they hire people from the Web2 space, but they don't spend a lot of time educating them on what Web3 is. So that's something I'm very proud of with our team, is we're all Web3 degens. But yeah, in a few years from now, we want to show, I 100% think that all games should be on Web3 eventually. It might take a very long time, but it makes sense to me. Like, why not have decentralization of asset ownership of all the stuff you get in game? Like, why do we bottleneck? Why can't a game publisher just publish on the blockchain and be forced to use something very centralized? Those type of things I'm very excited about, and I hope that Anomura paves the way for a lot of new projects to do that.
I love that. I love that. Long, I think you guys have been an inspiration for a bunch of game builders already now. And so thank you for jumping on the podcast. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.